The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you for your time. Hi, this is your moderator today, Paul Rusk. I'm going to go through a few housekeeping items first. Just one note, the attendees, you folks, are on mute, and we'll step through our presentation and demonstration today, and at the end of that, we'll open up the line for questions. But in the meantime, again, thank you for your time this morning. Usually we get a few stragglers coming in a little bit late. It takes a while to ramp up on GoToWebinar sometimes. So I'll go through a few housekeeping points, and then we'll begin in about 2 minutes. So first and foremost, our presenters today, thankfully, are Cloud Central's chief, Chris Schiethler, and Cumulogic's co-founder, Sandeep Patni. Now, throughout our presentation, we do encourage you to interact with our speakers by using the questions pane that's in front of you. And again, at the end of the event, we'll open up the line for live questions for Chris and Sandeep. Another housekeeping item. You have the option to use your computer speaker, or if you wish to dial in, there was a number that was in the email invite. You can do that as well. Sometimes you get an echo on the speaker off your computer. If you're experiencing that, you might want to consider dialing in on your phone. And one more housekeeping item, we are recording today's event. So the session is going to be made available online within 24 hours. Those who have registered for today's event will send you a link to the recording for today's event. So we'll begin here in about 15 seconds. Let me take one more look. Yeah, we're doing quite well. So with that, I am going to turn it over to Chris from Cloud Central. Chris, please begin.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. First, I'd just like to thank everyone for coming in for this webinar. It's the first one we've done this year, so we may be a little rusty, but bear with us and we'll put on a good show for you. We're very keen to show everyone our new cloud platform services. And yeah, hope you enjoy.
Outstanding. And with that, we're going to turn it over to Sandeep to actually give you an overview of the platform services.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Paul. Hello, everyone. I'm Sandeep Patni, co-founder and VP of Systems at Cumologic. Today, I'm going to walk you through Cloud Central's PaaS and cloud services powered by Cumologic. We will see how easy it is to deploy applications or run fully managed database, load balancer, caching services within just few clicks. At the heart of the service is an integrated PaaS, which simplifies the deployment of applications. Developers can simply push the applications, Java or PHP applications, to the cloud, and the underlying platform will manage the entire lifecycle of the application. With the Cloud Central's cloud services, you have the flexibility to orchestrate your services and design your application architecture to fit the specific requirements such as your availability, scalability, disaster recovery, and your performance requirements. So with that, I'm going to start. So here, bring you to the landing page. So here you have the, we're going to walk through initial sign-up process when you are going to come into the first time to the Cloud Central, the platform service. You would click on the sign up button if you already don't have an account. So you would click on the sign up button, and here you would fill up the form, provide your information, your username, password, create an account for yourself. At this point, it is assumed that you already have Cloud Central IaaS, the cloud account already. So you would click on S here and then provide your access key, secret key for your Cloud Central account. What that will do is now the Cloud Central platform now would have access to your Cloud Central IaaS account, and it will be able to spin up resources in that account for provisioning your various services, whether deploying applications or creating various services like database or load balancer and so on. So once you fill up this form, so for the purpose of this demo, I have created an account already. So once you sign up here, you would get a validation email. You would click on that email and confirm that that's you and not some robot created an account. So once you validate that properly, then your account is ready for access. So we would come back here on cuelogic.cloudcentral.com.au and you'll be able to log in from here. So let's begin. I'm going to log in as my account. Well, this is the username and password I had given while creating an account. So once I log in, so what I see here is the user dashboard, what we call is the user dashboard. So from here, you can get a complete view of a summary of what your account consists of at this point. Like I have one application deployed and I have few services already running in my account. I have access shortcuts available here for me to be able to navigate to various services available like database services, Elasticache, and so on. And from the top menu, I am able to switch to navigate to the services or the application. Now, on the, like I mentioned earlier, so under the application is basically the fully integrated platform as a service solution, and under the services are the various component services which are available for users. Now let's begin by looking at applications. So when we initially provided, during the sign-up process, we provided the account credentials. With that, there's the Target Cloud credentials have already been established, so it is already established that we have access to the underlying IaaS infrastructure and we are able to deploy applications here. Now I'm on the applications tab. Here you can see in my application dashboard, I have some application already deployed. So we will look at the details of the application. Before that, let's look at how easy it is to just deploy an application. So I'm going to click here. From this menu, you can navigate to deploy applications. Clicking on deploy application. Just provide basic information about your application. I'm going to give it a name. We are just going to deploy a simple test web like Hello World type application. Here I'm going to provide the application WAR file. So click on that button and provide. So here is my the packaged application WAR file. I'm just going to give it that. And here's a descriptor. So this descriptor is, I'm going to show you the descriptor. This is basically just a description of the application and what are the components I need. If I don't have the descriptor, I could go through the customize and select the components my application requires. So let's go and say deploy. Now what this will do is it has uploaded the WAR file and then read through the descriptor, determine that I need one Tomcat instance, a small instance, how much it's going to cost me here, and then showing me a load balancer. So my application currently needs a load balancer and a Tomcat instance. I'm going to click here on finish. What that will do now is, so it has started provisioning the resources required for my application in the underlying Target Cloud. And then once the resources are ready, it will go and deploy the application and make it available for access. Now, as you see here in this application status, it is showing at in progress. So while the application deployment is happening or the provisioning is happening, you can browse through the event tab. So at the bottom here, you see the various tabs. In the event tab, you can monitor the progress. You can see what is happening. So it is creating a framework service, creating a load balancer service, and so on. What that essentially means is it's creating those resources. Also, we have a little more detailed events available within the individual tabs available. For example, in the frameworks, I can click on show events, and that will tell me what is happening while it's creating that Tomcat instance. So we can monitor this. So once these the underlying services are provisioned and ready for service, it will deploy the application. And under the apps tab here, we will see the application URL become available for your access. So while this application is getting deployed, let's take a look at the application which we have previously deployed and which is already available for us. So this is the application which is available. Once the application is deployed, the status is showing green here. And in the actions, there will be actions available such as undeploying the application or configure the domain and so on. In the bottom tab here, you see that I have details of the application where it will tell me during the provisioning, for example, we have selected what was the name of the application, what framework it is using, and what cloud it is running on, how many nodes, and so on. Now, in the various detailed other tabs here, you will see that in frameworks, I see that I have Tomcat, I have deployed this application on Tomcat, and under the actions, if there are any actions available for showing the events, modifying the currently deployed application, that's available here. So for this application, I have load balancer already provisioned. Similarly, I have the details of that. Under the host details, I will get the details of IP address and the information about what service type it is in use for that given application. Under the events tab, like we saw there, we will see the details of everything that happened throughout the right from the application deployment started until now, and then you will see that if there is any events that happen further from here, they will be listed here, and you will be able to see them. Under the applications tab here, like we saw, I mentioned to you earlier, so this is where the actual application is made available. So this URL, this is the clickable URL available for me for my deployed application. I click on it, and I can see that application. This is the live application here available and already deployed. Now similarly, I have under the monitoring tab, I have all the monitoring data available for this application. Now once the application is deployed, along with the underlying resources when they are created, there are health agents and the monitoring agents deployed. They are continuously monitoring the system, collecting the performance metrics, and submitting the data to the server. So that is being plotted here. So we can see various metrics are available, and we can drill down into any of these by just clicking on this lens here, and then I can look at if there are more than one nodes, they will be listed here in different colors, and I could switch off or switch on one of them. Or if I wanted to zoom at particular time interval, I could just click on that and look at what's happening. If I was debugging a performance problem, that would be helpful for me to look at that. Like this, I mentioned this application is using a Tomcat instance and a load balancer. So for looking at the data for load balancer, I'll just click on the load balancer from here and look at the data for load balancer. Now, other than the monitoring, you see here there are two other tabs. One is the access group. So this access group is showing me what, so you would see in the services screen when we go there, you can fine tune who has access to your application. So for example, I have this framework service which is created, which ports are open, so you can granularly control access to specified IP range or specific port from here. You could add, if you wanted to open up certain ports for your application and so on. On your load balancer, if you wanted to give access to, if it's a private application, for example, and you wanted to give access to only certain user group, you could just give that IP range here and be able to control the access. So that basically will take care of your security on your application. You'll be able to manage that from here. Under the logs, you can see the application log details. You would see the last 500 lines of the log here, and you'd be able to download the log file if you wanted to take that out and analyze further, or you'll be able to read it on screen and refresh the log when you're doing something. So this is specifically useful when you are doing some application migration or making some update to the application. You can look in the log if there is something happening within the application. So like here, for example, when I just did that, created the database and populated values, you could see that all these entries got made here. So I know what happened with my application, and I can look at that from here. I could pretty much download this log if I needed to take this outside the system and analyze it there. So that shows me all the details of the application. I can, as you can see here, you are able to see the details of the application. You can get the monitoring data, you can get the host details, and the event log tells you throughout the life cycle of the application, whatever happens with the application. And you get the log file for the given application. Now, once we deployed an application, so you saw that we went through adding the WAR file and hitting the deploy on the application. Now, once you have done that one time, application gets added to what we call the application repository. So this is almost like your own application store. So you have, so two applications which I have deployed are available here for me. And if I want to deploy another instance of this application, all I can do is I could just say deploy, and it is just ready to deploy in one click. I could just say click on that and deploy the application. So you saw we talked about the application descriptor when we create the application. So I'm just going to show you briefly that application descriptor and talk about that. So here, when we deployed the application test web, This is a simple XML file. You can create that. The sample file is available in our user guide. You could download from there and just fill up the information about. So you can see here I have the application name, the WAR file name, and the framework information. So for example, I need a Tomcat, and I have how many nodes I need, if I need a load balancer, and so on. So I would define all these components of the application and then provide that file. If I don't have that, I could pretty much go and say, if I don't create that file, I would go and go through this menu, come here, and then choose what components I need. So from here, I could choose if I needed, instead of Tomcat, I wanted to deploy this on JBoss or JBoss 6 or so on. And if I, instead of a small tiny instance, I needed to put that into a larger compute instance. So I could pretty much customize that manually without specifying it from there. So while this application is getting deployed, we will go back to the go to the other screen and see what's happening so far here. Let's go take a look. The instance creation is still in progress, and the load balancer is ready right now. The framework, the Tomcat instance is getting ready. So once that is ready, as I mentioned earlier, the application will get deployed. So we just looked at a use case where a developer can simply push their application in the cloud without having to worry about the the complexities of configuring the application server, database server, web server, and tying them together, creating the cluster, all that configuration details. So the developers who don't need to worry about the underlying complexities of the infrastructure, they can just use this fully integrated platform solution where they just bring their application and not have to worry about and just specify what you need for your application and not have to worry about the details of configuring the application, configuring the underlying resources to deploy the application. And then the platform from here on will worry about configuring the resources, monitoring agents, the setting up everything there. And once the application is deployed, then it is managing the life cycle of the application. When you want to update the application, when you want to undeploy, do the any other fine-tuning configuration on the application, and so on. So that all is handled by the platform, and the developer doesn't have to worry about it. So now let's take a look at the power user. So these developers we talked about where they don't need to worry about the underlying infrastructure, but then there is other set of developer users who are more in tune with their infrastructure needs, and then they would want to fine-tune their application. So let's look at the, we'll walk through the services and see how you can create. Here you saw that when I wanted to deploy an application, I created a Tomcat and a load balancer, and I just let the system create it for me. Whereas we also have the modular services available where you can create these individual components and then tie them together, configure them manually, and have more fine-tuning control in terms of your performance and others. So from here, you can click on the services like I mentioned, and we go to services. So from here, you would see that we have out of the box currently, we have 4 services available: database as a service, load balancer as a service, framework, and elastic cache. As more services become available, they will get added here, and you will see the slew of menus here. So let's walk through database as a service. What database as a service provides you here is fully managed Amazon compatible, Amazon RDS compatible database as a service. Currently, we support MySQL and MongoDB and MySQL cluster as engines. Let's look through launching an instance, and then we will come to talking about all the actions available and the management control you have on your database as a service. So click on the launch instance. So from the screen, you just fill out this information, give it a name. So let's call it MySQL, and this is just MySQL instance. By the way, on all these screens, you will find the breadcrumb question mark here. Where you click on that, that would open up the help screen. So you could look through any of the fields on that screen. You'll have all the information about what to fill in if there's a question, or if you have doubt about what to write into a particular field. So you will get all the help available on that. So now next we select the engine. So you can see that we have MySQL cluster, MongoDB, as I mentioned, available here. So you could choose what you want from here. We can leave it to default MySQL or choose MongoDB and so on. Then you choose the target cloud. Now this target cloud, since I have only one target cloud, it is selected by default. What this target cloud means is, like we saw earlier, we gave the API and secret key for your Cloud Central account that got added as a target cloud. So that is the location where the resources are deployed. Now, if you had more than one Cloud Central account, for example, and you added that separately, then you would be able to choose where you want to deploy this particular application. So you could choose it from the drop down. So right now I only have one. I'm going to select that. Availability zone, currently there's only one availability zone, so that's by default selected. Now instance type, I could choose what size instance I want. So for example, I have tiny, small, medium, compute, regular, and extra large, and so on. So let's select small. This is just a tag for your service instance. So this is what identifier for you to see whether it's a development or production or testing instance. So let's call it development at this point. Access group is created by default for that, and you can fine tune it as you want. Number of nodes, so this is a MySQL standalone instance we selected, so the number of nodes is only one, you cannot increase that. But if I were to select a MySQL cluster, for example, I can get, by default it starts with 3 nodes, and I could increase the number of nodes I want on that service. Or if I were to choose MongoDB, for example, then I could go and select a number of nodes on that. Then at the bottom section, I will give the database configuration. So I give just a name, for example, database to be created. I'm going to call it demo1, a username and a password. And then I choose the port number where I want to run MySQL. So I'll leave it default at this point. Now on this, once I click on next, I see the next screen where I'm selecting performance group. Let's talk about the that when we talk about the parameter groups. So I'm just going to select, I have created one already. I'm going to select that, and we'll talk about the details of that shortly. In the storage and backup, I need to provide what should be my database size. So I'm going to favor 10 GB to start with on my database. In the backup options, if I give no preference, the default backup settings will apply. That will be once a day backup and default retention time. But if I wanted to change that particularly, so I could just click here and say how much retention I want. So for example, I want my backup to be retained for 5 days. And when do I want my backup to start? So for example, instead of midnight, I want it to start at 1 a.m. and so on. Similarly, at the next screen, we have the maintenance and updates. So here you see a checkbox that once you check this on, that means any of the updates or security fixes coming in for that MySQL we have selected in this case would be automatically applied during the maintenance window for that service. If you uncheck that, that would mean that the patches are not applied. So you would be responsible for updating your service whenever there is bug fixes coming in. So let's keep that checked in. And maintenance window, you could leave it as the default, or you can choose similarly that I want my maintenance to start on, let's say, on Saturday at midnight or something. And I click on finish. Now that will start launching a database service like we saw in the application there. So the database service is getting created. Similarly, in the details tab, you see all the details we selected during the provisioning of that service. And in the events tab, we would see that the instance creation has started, and now it will go create the MySQL, create an virtual machine in the underlying cloud, and then create the storage, create the MySQL server, create that database for us, and finally give us the access to that database. Once the service turns green, you would see that access details will pop up here with the details. The monitoring data will start showing up. So while this service is getting created, let's take a look at the MySQL instance which I have already created before the demo. So here on the MySQL, you see that there are various actions available. We will look at the actions. So the actions available are, we have create read replica. So that is basically if I wanted to add. So this is, as you know, that we have started that as a standalone MySQL, and if we wanted to add more read capacity as we ran out of capacity, so we could add a read replica node and then use that for reporting or the backup or the other purposes on your application based on your application requirement. You can do a restart of the database. You can clone. So we went through launching an instance. Now, if I want to make another copy of this database, I could just clone this database from here and create a copy of that database. Or I could terminate that. When I'm done with using this database, I could terminate. What that will do is it will terminate the MySQL service from here and clean up the resources from the underlying target cloud so that you are not getting billed for it when you're done with it. In the modify section, the one we talked about, so we will come back to modify once we talk about the parameter group. So in the modify section is you would be able to modify what you want, if you wanted to change any backup settings, or you wanted, if you modified any performance parameters for the given database, then you would be able to change that. The other things you see here is creating a snapshot. So on your database, there's a default snapshot being taken on the default. If you have not selected it differently, then the default frequency is once a day. If you wanted to take a specific snapshot at any point of time, you could pretty much click on create snapshot and then create a snapshot of that database. So for example, I'll just go here and say create a snapshot of my database right now. So specifically when you are working on let's say making a big application change or doing some migration, it would be useful for you to keep a snapshot of your current database so that if something were to go wrong with your application, you have backup of your database and you would be able to restore it from that instead of going to the last known backup and so on. So you see here now I have created a snapshot. From this snapshot, I could pretty much go and say restore this from this snapshot, create another database for me, or just delete this snapshot. I don't need it anymore, and so on. So from here, we saw the snapshot. See another action which is available here. So now once you have taken a snapshot, or let's say that something has gone wrong with your database and you want it to be restored at some known point in state before, so we could just say point in time restore here, select the particular instance, and then select the instance type where I want to restore this database to. So for example, if I have a current database running and I wanted to see restore it from what the state of that database as of last night, I could just specify that time from latest backup or restore up to a specific time window. I could choose that and then say that restore it. So once that database is restored, I will have a state of that database available as of last night, and I will be able to compare and fix anything if I needed to do. In the bottom tab here, you see the details of the event like we saw. The events tab shows you the events. In the monitoring, we have the monitoring data for the database. The performance data is available, and similarly, you'll be able to zoom into any database, any parameters here to see more details of that. In the access details tab, we see, like I mentioned earlier, when the database is finally created, you have access to that database from outside. Now, I have this IP address of the database, port number, a username, and the password which is hidden right now. So if I do that, I can see the password. Now, I can take this credential and from outside where my application is running, for example, I have this application running outside the cloud somewhere, I could pretty much point this application to that database with the credentials which are available to me and use that standalone database as a service from the cloud and be able to use that, not having to deploy application here, but use that database as a service from there. Or connect to this database directly from your IDE or something where you'd be able to manage the database, take a dump of the database, modify content of your application data and so on. So you would have full access to your database. Let's take a look at, so while this database is still getting provisioned, let's see how far it has come. So it is in the configuration. So let's take a look at the parameter group in the meantime. So in the parameter group here on the left hand side under the services, you will see these various submenus where you can navigate to. Now from the parameter group, we have provided all the standard tunable parameters for users to be able to fine tune the database for their application as specific application requirement. So you can make a copy of any of these parameter lists. For example, I make a copy of MongoDB. once I make a copy of that, then I would see, so this is the default parameter list which got copied here. So whatever parameters are exposed in that, they become available for me to view. I could view and edit parameter from this bottom pane, and I can edit. So this screen will show me the parameter name, the type of the value, the possible values, and whether it's a parameter is dynamic or not, and the default values, and so on. So once, if I, for example, wanted to change this, this value, I wanted to change this. So by default, the default value is true, but if I wanted to change this and I save it, now when I create a new database instance using this parameter group, that would, whatever settings I have done in terms of my fine tuning, that would get applied to that database. So take a look at the similar thing is available for MySQL. We have exposed the standard tuning parameters which you would need to fine tune for your application, and we are continuously adding more parameters to this list. So you would see here, for example, your key buffer size, max connections, and so on. That will show you if the parameter is dynamic, if it is, what's the default value, what are the possible values, and so on. And you could pretty much tweak that to say I want 200 connections instead of 100, and so on. Once I fine tune that, then I can go back to my provisioned database instance and I say modify. So let's say that now you saw that we changed that from max connections from 100 to 200, and I have this parameter group. If I created another one, I could apply that one. So since we have applied this parameter group, I could say that. If I wanted to change any other backup options, I could change it from here. Now, there are two options here. I can apply these changes right now, or I could just modify this and let the changes get applied during the maintenance window. So specifically for production databases, you wouldn't want the changes to be applied right at that time, because if one of the parameters you modified was non-dynamic parameter, then what that would do is it would actually do a restart on the database, and which may or may not be desirable during the production hours. So we could just say, since we modified only max connection, which is a dynamic parameter, we are going to say apply now, and that would just get the setting applied to that database. You can see now it's in progress, and it will modify that database, and database is accessible with the modified setting. So similarly, we have access group. So access group is what we saw in the application screen earlier. Similar concept here. We have the specific, you can see the details, what ports are open for this access group. You can pretty much edit this access group and say add more port, add a particular port number to be opened. For example, if I wanted to open for specific IP range, then I could just put those values and then say apply, and that would just apply for that port number. It will just get applied to that particular port number. So this is how you'll be able to control the security for your database. We saw from the parameter groups, you could fine tune your database for your performance requirements. From the read replicas, you are able to create replication on your database and add more capacity, so scale the databases up. From the snapshot, you are able to take the backup, and so you are protected in terms of your backup recovery for your databases. So that's in a nutshell, database as a service, fully managed and configurable for your application requirement. Now you can see, similar to the database service, the other services we talked about, pretty much the flow is similar. You're able to launch a service, you fill up the standard form for launching a service. The parameter groups are available, and access group control is available for each of these services. So you would see in the I have a load balancer service which is launched here currently. I have actions available here to add an application. So what load balancer here is doing, we supporting a Nginx load balancer at this point, and the other load balancer, NetScaler and others are getting added towards the later part of the year. So using the Nginx load balancer, you would be able to manage applications or web servers outside of this Cloud Central deployment, or the ones which are deployed within Cloud Central. So you'll be able to scale, automatically get this the load balancer configured and load balance between the application. So from here, you're able to add applications. enable SSL. So once you have your application managed from the load balancer, you can configure the SSL termination on that load balancer. So to enable SSL, you will just fill out the form. If you wanted to just do anonymous SSL, you could just click that. Or if you already have certificate, you could just click on that and upload your certificate from here. If you are first time creating that, so you would want to just fill up the information and generate the CSR, download the CSR and the key files, get that signed from your authority, and then bring the certificate back, go back here and click on App Certificate to apply that certificate. So you'd be able to configure that. Now, in addition to doing that, you'd be able to also configure the DNS domain name. So once we have the load balancer available, so for example, we have the access details available for that load balancer, you can pretty much configure that as particular domain name or your application name.com, for example, and that domain name is registered. You would update the DNS A record in your DNS and then come and provide the DNS name. So load balancer is configured with that reconfigured for the given domain. The rest of the things are standard here. As you can see, the monitoring data is available. The details for your load balancer access or application is available here. And if the application is deployed or this load balancer is managing particular application or web servers and so on, those details will be available in this panel. Similar to load balancer, we have framework as a service. Within the framework, as you can see, we provide, we currently support Java EE and PHP and JVM as a service and Spring. Support for Grails is coming shortly within the next few weeks, and that would be available here. So once you choose the framework, then we have various engines available. So within Java, for example, we have JBoss 7, JBoss 6, Glassfish, and Tomcat, and so on. While provisioning the service, you will choose the number of nodes. So start with one node and be able to auto scale up to a certain number of nodes and so on. The rest of the things we saw in the other service, current cloud, availability zone, instance type, and so on. Once you launch this service, you would see that I have a Tomcat instance provision here. In the various actions available for my framework service, I could deploy an application directly from here. I could, other things are modify, restart the Tomcat, configure auto scaling. So when the instances are provisioned, and like we saw when we were provisioning, we started with one node here. In the details, it will tell you that I have provisioned this with max node of 3. So that means when I configure this auto scaling rules here, I can configure the auto scaling rules to say when, based on the CPU usage, for example, when CPU usage is more than 91%, I want this scale to scale up. And let's say that I would set up another rule for scale down, which would say when CPU usage is less than 10%, scale down. So what this would do now is when I have applications deployed on that Tomcat instance and my CPU usage reaches 91%, alert will be generated by the monitoring agent and sent to the platform controller, and that will trigger in motion the scale up procedure. It will add more capacity to the node and then automatically update, deploy the applications and make them, configure them as a cluster. When let's say that the application load has subsided and then it has gone down, when both the nodes are running at below 10% threshold, then it will recognize that and scale down alert will be generated, and the additional resources which were started, those will be taken out. So let's apply this. So at any given point of time, system will ensure that, because we have said the minimum number of nodes is 1, it will make sure that at least one node is running, and depending on the capacity requirement, it will add more capacity to it and bring down the nodes or bring up additional nodes in the equation. So when application is deployed on this, the application URL would become available. But in the services section, you would see that when you deploy the application, you would have to specifically go into load balancer and configure these instances to take care of the load balancing for that given application. Now the last service here I have is Memcache. So it's Elastic Cache service which is based on Memcache. So caching is an important component of your of any web application. So using this, you could spin up Memcache instances and attach them to your database or your application instance, and get that additional performance as you need on your application. So my demo ends here. Thank you, everyone. At this point, I would like to hand over to Chris for his closing comments, and then open up for question answer. Chris, back to you.
Yeah, thanks, Sandeep. Great demo. Certainly highlights the power of the platform. I think it's probably the leading platform available in Australia today. I don't see, as far as we know. We certainly encourage people to try it out. We've got a 30-day free trial offer. If you go to our website, you can take advantage of that, so you can test drive the platform services 30 days, no charge. We certainly encourage feedback as well. So if you have anything else you'd like to see or anything like that, please feel free to get in touch. We're going to be continuously developing this service to add more frameworks and supported languages and whatnot over the next few months. So yeah, certainly encourage you to sign up and give it a try. Over to you, Paul.
Thank you very much, Chris. So thank you, everybody. We're now going to open up the lines in case there are any questions. I think we're unmuted at this point, hopefully, and if you do have any questions, feel free to ask them. Going once.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anybody out there with questions? No questions. Outstanding. So thanks again, everybody, for joining us. Just as a reminder, you'll be receiving an email with the link to today's recorded presentation. Also, we'd love to have you connect with us and keep the conversation going beyond today's event. So feel free to reach out to us at any time via email at info@cloudcentral.com.au. And on behalf of Chris and Sandeep, as well as the teams at Cloud Central and Cumulogix, this is Paul Rusk wishing you a good day, and thank you.